The biggest difference between the PlayStation 5 and PC version is not just resolution and performance, it's also that the PlayStation 5 version is actually supporting the HDR calibration menu on the console. And I'm very sure the same will count or will be for the upcoming Xbox version this year, hopefully. So there was the issue on the release date that, at least on my PlayStation 5 and many other people, that when you have set up this menu in the, in my opinion, correct way, that means the last page here was actually completely set to 0. You can see this is grayed out. You had actually a complete wrong picture in terms of black levels, because everything was just crushed. And the solution back then was actually to increase this by 1 step, and it was fine. So you may or may not remember, this was exactly the same issue with Jedi back then on the PlayStation 5 at least. I think Xbox there was a complete different or a different problem in terms of HDR, but it was exactly the same as on the PlayStation 5 or as in Baldur's Gate here right now. So this is with one of the latest, or this was with one of the latest patches resolved. So what I would recommend is actually, and this counts for TVs with HGiG support or just with dynamic tone mapping support or whatever. I mean, do me a favor and watch my videos where I explain exactly how to set this up. But just to make it very, very quick, we have page number 1, and right now HGiG is enabled on my TV. And what I'm doing is I following actually the instruction until I barely can't see this, and then I tick 1 more that the sun is completely gone. Next page I do exactly the same. I'm increasing this until it's barely visible, which is this one here, and then 1 tick more, and here again complete to 0, because as soon you increase this by 1 step or 1 click, we're adding actually additional black level rays to the game. And this is something what we don't want to have, because this game offers, that's actually not a nice word to say, but this game actually offers already HDR black level rays out of the box without or with the standard factory settings in the game. And this is actually something which is very good, that we have HDR in-game settings. So we don't have just, or we on top on the HDR system level calibration on the PlayStation 5, we have also brightness and contrast setting, which is very, very good. I mean, usually I would think if we have a game which supports the HDR system level calibration, PC, Xbox, PlayStation 5, we probably shouldn't have something like that. But I changed my opinion about this, because everybody is different. Everybody likes a slightly different game and or style, or how the picture looks like. And what I found also, sometimes the standard settings or creators' intent is not what people like. And in this case, it's not the same, because they're actually giving you the chance to change it as you like it. As you can see, contrast is changing the picture like crazy in terms of the gamma or the EOTF curve. So you make everything washed out, or you crush some black levels. And of course we have the overall brightness setting, which is the average picture brightness, which is a very important slider in this game. So let's come straight to the point and let's talk about my recommended settings for Baldur's Gate 3 on the PlayStation 5, or my minimum recommended settings for Baldur's Gate 3 on the PlayStation 5. We have brightness set to 145 and contrast to 125. So again, those are my recommended settings in terms of contrast, and in terms of my minimum recommended settings, brightness 145. And why I'm talking about brightness and minimum recommended setting is quite simple. I can't remember what was the standard factory setting, but what I found is that when you have a setting lower than 145, you actually not maxing out the maximum peak brightness in this game, or what you have set on your PlayStation. So at the moment, as you can see, we actually, the maximum peak brightness is jumping around like crazy, but it is around 1000 nits. So when we changing the brightness setting here to, let's say 80, because it's maybe that's what you like, you can actually see that now the maximum peak brightness is reduced to around 700 to 800 nits. And that's the reason why I recommend a minimum brightness setting of 145 to make sure we have actually the maximum peak brightness what you have set on your PlayStation 5. You can of course increase this as you like it, but at some point of course it's a little bit too much in my opinion. But as you can see, you're really not extending the maximum peak brightness a lot. I know that the maximum CLL on the right hand corner is jumping around like crazy, but I found during gameplay it is actually quite stable and it keeps 1000 nits, which is perfect for the LG G2. And the reason why I recommend to set contrast to 125 is not just to have actually a better contrast in general in the game and to have a little bit better HDR or less HDR black level rays. As you can see here right now, it's actually almost on spot. It's also about colors, but let me show you this. If you actually use this one with the standard setting of 1.0, how much you actually increase the HDR black level ray. So you lift up the whole gamma, which in my opinion doesn't look quite right or not as good as with contrast set to 125. Increasing the contrast to 1.25 gives you not just better HDR black level rays, it also gives you better colors. Have a look on the picture right now and just look at the very dark or grayish picture, and all what you can see in terms of blue at the moment is actually color space in the DCI-P3 color space, but there is not much. So let's have a look what is happening actually when we increasing this to around 1.25. You can actually see here already we gaining a little bit more of DCI-P3 color space, and now this looks of course complete different. So also on top we have now also some colors in the BT2020 color space. But in one of my last videos about Baldur's Gate, some people actually told me that they don't like the look when contrast is set to 125, and that's absolutely fine. If you don't like it, then don't use it. But what I would strongly recommend now is that you use the fine-tune dark area setting -5, because right now you have actually a lot of HDR black level rays, and I found -5 gets absolutely rid of this. So the only thing what you need to consider is, as always, when you use the the fine-tune dark area setting, you must enable VRR on your console or the PC. And you can see this here when I find the option here. VRR is set to automatic, and make sure you also turn on apply to unsupported games. And last but not least, the question is HGiG versus dynamic tone mapping on, and it's very simple in this game. The fact that we have actually a brightness slider in the game where we can change the average picture brightness as we like it makes it very hard to recommend dynamic tone mapping on. I would stick to HGiG on supported TVs, because then we don't have the downsides or the disadvantages from dynamic tone mapping on, which are it is changing the brightness all the time, and you will have more clipping in specular highlights compared to HGiG. Okay my friends, so that's it for this very quick video, and I say as always thank you very much for watching me, and I hope you like this video. So I would much appreciate if you can like, share and subscribe. And for me that's game of the year. Again, I haven't had time to play. Actually, I'm not even in Act 3. So the Act 3 what you saw in the game is a downloaded game on the PC or save game on the PC, and then thanks to cloud saving or to cross-gen saving, I can use it on the PlayStation 5 as well to do testing in terms of performance and stuff like that. So this is actually a really great feature, and I'm looking forward to test the Xbox version at some point as well. And I'm very happy that we have this cross-gen feature actually, because then I can do proper testing. So for me, again, this is game of the year. It is a little bit on the PlayStation 5, I have to admit. Controller input is okay, but compared to mouse and keyboard, it's of course not the same. It is great what they have done, but you much faster with mouse and keyboard, and that's how it is. That's how I feel. But for a PlayStation 5 game, great controls in my opinion. The performance, I mentioned it already. To be very honest, here at the moment it's perfect 60 FPS, and most of the time when you're not in big cities or something like that, you can experience almost 60 FPS. Okay, with VRR enabled, there shouldn't be too much of an issue. And if you don't like the stuttering from time to time, then you have to play in the almost stable 30 FPS mode, because even then in Act 3 in Baldur's Gate in the big cities, it will start stuttering, or the frame rate will drop below 25, 22 or down to 21 FPS, what I found actually in the game. So again, it's not a big deal, because a game like this doesn't need to have stable 60 FPS in my opinion. Thank you very much for watching me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.